Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Unfiltered Information Podcast. It's episode number 12. Today, I'm going to do obviously, I'm doing it by myself, but I'm going to do kind of a special one. It's going to be a combination of all the conspiracy theories that have been proven to be true and that kind of started me on the journey of being a conspiracy theorist. If you guys follow my Instagram page, you know I post a lot of conspiracy stuff every now and then. I don't overdo it, but I post it every now and then. So all the things that I'm talking about, I've probably already posted about in the past, but I'm gonna get into a little in depth of each of them, hopefully. So, I'm gonna start off with the MK Ultra. Obviously, if you listen to the podcast, I talk about MK Ultra quite a few times. I'm gonna try looking at the camera as I do it, so I'm not looking like down or anything. Um, Obviously, you've heard me talk about MK Ultra many times. It was an operation that started in 1953 and lasted until 1973, and was brought to Congress in the 80s. Um, Basically, what it was the CIA, in cooperation with hospitals, colleges, and prisons, dosed and laced patients and prisoners and subjects, willing subjects in some circumstances, with large amounts of LSD, shock therapy treatments, and try to breaking the mind of the subconscious. Basically, why it started is because at the peak of the Cold War, the U.S. noticed that soldiers were coming back from battles, not feeling guilty for what they did, not feeling guilty for what they had done, as in killing people, and the U.S. government, being the government that they are, thought that it was because they were being brainwashed into believing that what they were doing was a bad thing. Um, so they started testing out the strength in the what's the word I'm looking for? The potential use for LSD to be weaponized. Um, Basically, one prime example of this happening is the Allen Memorial Institute in Canada. They would lace mental patients without their consent or without their knowing with large amounts of LSD, put them into comas, and just experiment with shock therapies constantly. That was overrun by a man named Ewan. Oh, what's his name? Let me pull up his name. Hold on one sec. Dr. Ewan Cameron. That's what it is. Ewan Cameron. If anyone wants to find out more information about that, I'd recommend going on YouTube and looking up the Fifth Estate. You can just look up Fifth Estate MK Ultra, and I'm sure it'll come up. It might not, because YouTube's pretty censored nowadays, but it should. Last time I watched it, that's what I looked up, and it came up perfectly fine. Um, Another instance is the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. He was laced. Well, he wasn't laced, but he was willingly subjected to large amounts of LSD at the hands of this project. Um, like I said, I've been over this, so I'm going to kind of just go over this one kind of briefly because I don't want to bore people. If you haven't already heard it, then I'm sorry, but I don't want to sound like a broken record every time I'm on a podcast. Another example would be, what's another one? There was a French, I'm not sure the name of the village, but there was a village in France where where LSD was laced into the bread supply of the local population, and the population was like started tripping out. They were tripping balls. And sorry about my stuffy nose too. I got wicked bad allergies right now. And they started tripping balls, and no one knew what was happening. And it turned out that the CIA had laced their bread with LSD to see what would happen. This happened with soldiers too. They did it on the military. They would give LSD to the military members without their consent or knowing, and then they would have them run drills. Blow my nose. Sorry, guys. I'm mad stuffed up. Uh, Without their consent and without them knowing, and just kind of watch it. There's many operations subcategories that go with MK Ultra. There's MK Naomi, MK Delta, Operation Midnight Climax. Midnight Climax is when the CIA would set up honeypots and give LSD to prostitutes, and they would have the prostitutes give the LSD to men before they had sex, and after they had sex, they would see if they could break the mind of the subjects, basically by trying to get information out of them. This would all take place while the CIA operatives would be standing behind a one-way mirror, watching the whole encounter to make sure things went the way they wanted them to. Um, yeah, so that's MK Ultra. Just a very brief overview. Again, if you haven't heard my podcast yet, then I'm sorry because I'm not doing enough justice as to how cruel these acts truly were. And I started off with this one because I want to show events that sound so crazy and unrealistic and implausible that have been proven to happen. That's the main goal of this whole video. I'm not going to talk about 9/11 or JFK or the reptilians or any of those things. I'm not going to talk about conspiracies that you can argue about. I'm going to talk about ones that you can't argue about, you can't dispute, ones that truly did happen and that were unspeakable acts that did take place. Okay, moving on to the next one. I got a list over here, that's why I keep looking to the side. The next one I have on the list is Operation Northwoods. Operation Northwoods was a plan that was made by the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the CIA in 1962. It was during President Kennedy's reign. Basically, it was a bunch of ideas that were compiled together that would make it justifiable for the U.S. to go to war with Cuba. So, for instance, one of the things would be to hijack a civilian airline and crash it. You heard me right. Hijack a civilian airline and crash it. Now, that sounds a lot like 9/11 if you ask me. But that's just one of them. Another one was, throw bombs into embassies and stuff like that and blame it on Cuba. Oh, the hijackings will be blamed on Cuba as well. Mass shootings, just shootings in many large areas, killing as many civilians as possible, and blame it on Cuban friendlies. I got more right here. I got a list. I give you a couple examples of it. Start rumors. So obviously propaganda rumors was what that would be. Start riots near the main gate of the embassies, of U.S. embassies. Blow up ammunition supplies inside of a base used to start fires and blame it on Cuban friendlies. Lob mortar shells from outside of a military base into the base and kill as many as possible. Again, these aren't conspiracies, folks. Everything that I'm saying, this is what the U.S. government put together and gave to President Kennedy. Obviously, President Kennedy declined it because it is a ridiculous idea. It's a ridiculous notion. The U.S. was willing to do what's called a false flag. A false flag is when your own government commits an act of terrorism or an act of treason, more or less, against their own people and blame it on somebody else in order to start war or make a profit. That's it's literally cutthroat, but it happens. It happened in Vietnam with an incident called the Gulf of Tonkin. I'm not going to get too into that one because I'm not totally knowledgeable of that one, but more or less I can give you an overview of what the Gulf of Tonkin was. This is a huge sidetrack. I'm sorry. When I'm by myself, I just start rambling. Gulf of Tonkin incident was, more or less, from my understanding, a U.S. military ship got attacked by the U.S. The U.S. attacked a U.S. ship and blamed it on the Vietnamese. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that. Please look into it yourself. Gulf of Tonkin, because I haven't researched that in years. I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, that's Operation Northwoods. Basically, just kill as many human civilians as possible. American civilians as possible, and blame it on Cuba in order to start a war. Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip happened after World War II. That's the next subject we're going to talk about. It happened after World War II, and the U.S. government, along with, I believe, Russia and a few European countries, took capture of a bunch of thousands, I'm pretty sure nearly 10,000 German scientists at the time, who were ex-Nazi scientists, and basically used them to their pawn, do their bidding, whatever they wanted. The U.S., for instance, was founded by the NASA for the U.S. was founded by a man named Wernher von Braun. He was head of NASA at the time. Wernher von Braun, you might know him for making the V2 rocket, and he was a Nazi. And after World War II, after Hitler killed himself, I don't think Hitler killed himself. Oh, my eyes are itching. These allergies killing me. But he was the head of NASA at the time. A Nazi was the head of NASA at one point in time. Just let that sink through your mind. So the U.S. basically just took a bunch of Nazi scientists, thousands of them, and put them into the space program. Again, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. That's just what happened. Again, not a conspiracy theory. This happened. Nazis were taken from Nazi Germany, brought to America, and they literally just they ran NASA. They ran our space program for many, many years. I know there's a few people, not a few, probably many people who still believe that descendants and neo-Nazis, or maybe just straight Nazis, I'm not sure which. I'm not sure the differentiation between neo-Nazis and Nazis, personally. I should look that up. But that Nazis are still in charge of NASA. I've heard that conversation come up many times while going down the rabbit hole. The next one is Operation Mockingbird. Operation Mockingbird happened, I believe, in the 60s. Again, I haven't researched these in years. This is kind of just off the top of my head, so whatever I'm remembering, I'm saying, I'm begging you guys to do your own research on these topics because they're so crucial and so crazy that me talking about them will not do them justice. Operation Mockingbird was a CIA operation. Again, the CIA, it's a recurring thing. The CIA is always involved with these folks. I mean, they were involved with MK Ultra. They were involved with Midnight Climax. They were involved with Operation Northwoods. They're always involved. It seems to always be the intelligence agencies, which is why I don't trust them personally. Operation Mockingbird. Yeah, the CIA basically would pay off newspapers and businesses and news channels to propagandize different things to their doing. I'm not sure what exact examples, but that's the overview of Operation Mockingbird. They would just basically have them do their bidding for them, so to spread propaganda more or less. In my opinion, Operation Mockingbird never went away; it just became less and less known. If you look at mainstream media nowadays, they're all owned by the same parent companies. I think 95% of all media is owned by three entities. Mainstream media is owned by three entities, which is freaking crazy. Um, and it doesn't take a genius to realize that there's a lot of nonsense going on in the news, and a lot of it's propagandized as is nowadays. Um, so again, this is when I learned about this. This really kind of shook me to the core because all of these did. It's the reason that I'm a big conspiracy guy nowadays because if they're willing to admit that our own government has done the acts that I'm talking about now, imagine the acts that we don't have record of, or the acts that haven't made it to the public eye yet. You know what I mean? They must be just absolute blasphemy. They must be uncomparably evil and just disgusting acts. Uh, I wrote crisis actors for some reason. I'm not sure what I was going to talk about crisis actors. Um, Anyone who's gone down the rabbit hole of conspiracies has definitely ran into crisis actors. Every now and then you'll find them, whether it be mass shootings or it's usually mass shootings. It's usually like big traumatic events. You'll see the same people over and over again. Again, I don't have any example. I should have prepared better for this video. I should have done more research on each topic beforehand. I apologize. That's my fault. This was just a last minute video. Like I said, I'm trying to upload pretty consistently, so I just kind of wanted to upload today. Well, tonight I'll upload it tomorrow. But for anyone who doesn't know what crisis actors are, basically there's a conspiracy floating around that most mass shootings and terrorist attacks are false flag operations. I've already clarified what false flags were, so we're on the same boat there. I apologize. Oh my goodness, this is a mess. um, yeah, basically there's a conspiracy that at these mass shootings and tragic events, you'll see the same people over and over again. Like one will play the victim of a mother of a victim, and then in another attack or another attack or a shooting, they'll play the cousin of the brother of the fiance or something. You know what I mean? Like they'll filter out people. I've seen articles too, and like wanting like hiring crisis actors, hiring actors for this stuff, and it kind of reminds me of when Antifa will hire people to stage riots and shit like that. I mean, they've been caught doing that many times, and they're being paid by George Soros. Uh, okay. Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book. It's a TV show that for anyone who doesn't know, it's a great TV show. There's 2 or 3 seasons. I'd recommend it. It's all about aliens and stuff like that. It's very interesting. Project Blue Book basically was an Air Force attempt of disclaiming UFOs. It was run by a man named J. Allen Hynek, who would later on go on record to say that they faked evidence and made up nonsense claims for many different events that they had captured and that they had investigated, saying that they were fakes when he personally believed they were real. I believe this was in the 40s and 50s, around that time period, because I know Roswell was around that time, and Roswell was 47, so yeah, it was around there, 40s to 50s. Um, Yeah, they investigated many. Again, I don't have them on the top of my head. Please, this video isn't like great detail. This is just to give you some like things to research if you're looking to get into conspiracies. If you're looking to get into the rabbit hole of what should I look into, what should I look into, what should I, you know what I mean, stuff like that. I said what should I look into twice. I apologize. Um, Operation Cyclone. Operation Cyclone was crazy. So basically, in the 1980s, the Soviets were trying to invade Afghanistan and the Middle East, and so the U.S. funded, trained, and armed the the Mujahideen. I believe is how you pronounce it, the Mujahideen, and basically they were just like a militia. For my knowledge, they're like a little militia that was underfunded, and the U.S. along with the cooperation of the Osama bin Laden's family and many other wealthy people in the Middle East at the time put together a force to back out the Soviets more or less. Later on, they would be known to be they would form the terrorist cell Al Qaeda. Um, so if basically the U.S. funded and started Al Qaeda as we did with ISIS, that's a different subject. But if you look into the history of ISIS, they're fighting us with our weapons, with our vehicles, with our ammunition, with our money, with our training. We create the war on terror is being created every day. We create the war on terror ourselves to keep it going, to fuel the fire, per se. Yeah, that's Operation Cyclone. So look into that. Illegal searches and wiretappings. First of all, anyone who knows the Fourth Amendment, I just blanked out the Fourth Amendment. No warrantless searches. Knows that wiretapping, data collecting, and searches of property is completely not just illegal, but goes against the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It's been going on for many years under the code name of Stellar Wind, for instance, is one of them. Look into Stellar Wind Project. Many people know that Edward Snowden was kind of the whistleblower for this, as he worked for the NSA and the CIA. Or he worked as a contractor for them. I don't think he worked directly for them. Basically, after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, the Patriot Act was signed into place. And this is what happens when something goes bad and the government takes away a little bit of freedom. That little bit of freedom is going to keep growing and growing and growing and growing and growing until it's insurmountable. Until it's so big and there's so many people involved and there's so much data being collected and so much shit being read and stolen from the American people that you'll never get it back. That's the thing with freedom. Once you lose a little bit, you never get it back. That's why you never get it back. Prove me wrong. I would love for someone to prove me wrong. The only example I can think of is prohibition. Prohibition. They outlawed alcohol, but we got it back. It's the only thing I can think of. Once they take away a little bit of freedom, you rarely get it back, and that's what happens with the Stellar Wind program. Basically, for anyone who's unfamiliar, all your phone records, your data, your emails, everything is constantly being monitored by the U.S. government and other foreign entities against your permission or will. If you want to opt out of it, too bad you can't. You can't. It's as simple as that. It's going on every day. If you want more information on that project, in that whole subject, I'd really recommend looking into Edward Snowden. I'm sure everyone knows who Edward Snowden is by now. He's hiding out. He's wanted in America for crime. I believe for active treason, which is just ridiculous. Because if a reporter did what he did, they'd be the biggest reporter in the world. But the fact that he was an inside source, it just for some reason he went against the country, I guess, which in my opinion he did not. He's a hero in my opinion. Epstein and his connection to many celebrities. Again, this is another thing that sounds like a conspiracy, but is it? Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, Kevin Spacey, hundreds of people. There's hundreds of people who were on Epstein's island in his plane, time and time again. It should be a conspiracy theory that this man was trafficking underage children, but it's not. This is the reality. Yeah, there's too much to say about that. That's a whole different video. If you're looking for something really sickening to look into that. A good book I can recommend is Traffic King. It's all about Epstein. it doesn't really focus on too much of the last 2 or 3 years. It focuses on his prior sexual cases. It gets really into detail. It shows court documents, court dialogues, inside sources, and stuff like that. But everyone knows who Epstein is. Okay, my last one here is Bohemian Grove. Bohemian Grove is a place in California where politicians, actors, and basically the super wealthy, super elite, super rich meet in the forest. It's a little like orgy party they have there in the middle of California. It was exposed by Alex Jones, I believe in the 90s or 2000s. Um, One of the biggest things that was going on there was that there was a giant statue of an owl, like an owl, like a giant, like I think it was a 20 or 30 foot tall owl, just in the area, and there was fires around it. Rumor has it there's mock human sacrifices there. There's I'll get into that more on that after. Uh, yeah, there's rumors that there's mock human sacrifices, that there's blood rituals, that there's sacrifices in general, just really weird, satanic. It was just fucked up shit, to say the least. Look into Bohemian Grove if you're interested in that. Once again, Bohemian Grove. What was I gonna say next? Some mock human sacrifices. If you're looking for some crazy rabbit hole to go down, it's pretty gruesome. Look up Marina Abramovich. Marina Abramovich. Say it slow, so it's kind of a tongue twister. She is a woman who practices in spirit cooking, does mock human sacrifices. She's connected to many celebrities, like many celebrities. It would blow your mind how many. I've done posted this on the Instagram page a couple times. Basically, she does human like spirit cooking, where she uses breast milk, semen, blood, and will make food that looks like a human body, and will sacrificially cut it up and feed it to her guests and her associates, you could say. It's really fucking weird shit. Even if they, let me say this: even if they're not sacrificing children and doing all this weird shit with them, they're still pretending to do it, which it's equally as bad. Pretending to murder somebody's still pretty fucked up. It's not as bad as murdering somebody, but it's definitely still fucking questionable. You know what I mean? Um, Again, that's Marina Abramovich. She's connected to John and Tony Podesta, Hillary Clinton, many actors. I know Pharrell, Will Ferrell. Who else? I'm trying to think. Again, it's been a while. I should write all these down. One of these days I'm gonna write a book about all this. I swear, mark my words. I'm gonna write a book about all these events into great detail. I'm gonna study them up, be refreshed on it. But again, this was just kind of a short little video. I just wanted to upload something to give you guys some stuff to look into, some stuff to think about. Uh, so yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you for watching, I should say. Again, I apologize for my stuffy nose and my watery eyes. Uh, Hopefully it's gone tomorrow. I'll get another podcast out to you guys this week, hopefully. Big news too. If you guys like these podcasts, I'm working on getting some ghost hunters, like professional paranormal investigators, on for a podcast. That's my biggest thing that I'm working on right now for it. I've emailed 4 or 5 different organizations, and if none of them get back to me within a week, I'm going to start going outside of New England, and I'm going to start asking just ones around the country for better chances of getting one. I really want to get 1 or 2 in before Halloween time. If I get more than one, then I'm going to do one on Halloween and one the day before Halloween. I'm going to post them back to back. So look out for that. If you don't follow the Instagram, please do. I'd really appreciate it. The link will be in the description of this video. Yeah, thank you all for watching. One love. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.